Hello, my lovely audience. So, this is going to be what if Deku was, well, the penguin. And didn't see anyone doing this what if, even though it's, insane. I did some research and did a lot of background checking on Penguin because I didn't know much about it. I actually had to go through old books. The books I went through were a Batman book I had when I was a kid and some DC comic books that I went through. I have shitloads of DC comic books. That are just basically about characters. And boy, did I find out a lot about the Penguin. One of which was he's master in judo, ninjutsu, and bare knuckle boxing, which, if you ask me, is just kind of terrifying. I kind of just came up with this what if today, and also this is going to be replacing the Bender what if because I put up a tally thing and I wanted to see how many people would want to see that one go, and a lot of people. So the Bender one is going to be canceled and also maybe put on hold. If you would like to see it again, then I could try, but yeah. So let's get to the what if. Now, so what's going to happen is this. Deku pretty much is going to live his normal life, but he's going to have a rare mutation quirk. Well, kind of a mutation quirk. More of like a rare quirk that is a little interesting. Everybody remembers the kid in Class 1A that looks like a piece of stone and can communicate to all insects, animals, and so on. Well, it's going to be similar to that kind of quirk. As in, Deku is able to talk to birds. And when I mean talk to birds, I mean kind of have a telepathic link with a bird. And I had to work through this quirk a lot just to figure out how it would work and what its limitations are. So, let me get to the limitations because this is a good quirk. So basically the quirk is this. He is able to have a telepathic link with a bird, but he has to raise the bird from birth, which is that's a hard part. Now, I am going to go on about Deku's family life a little quickly, but basically this is what happens. So Deku is raising birds with his mom, who would own a bird shop, because you gotta take some time in the past, you got some kind of hobby, and yeah, raising birds is kind of fun. Besides, birds are fucking awesome. Oh my god, you can raise exotic birds and get away with it. Holy crap. So yeah, he's raising exotic birds from when they were babies and all that, and he's taking care of them, and he learns about his quirk from that. And how this telepathic link works is he's able to go through their memory about certain things that he orders them to do, and he's able to see almost like a video of what the bird is seeing. And his eyes would, I wouldn't say his eyes would look any different. It would just kind of be like he shares a telepathic link and he sees everything that bird sees. From that time, and from what he commanded it to go see. And what would end up happening is Deku would immediately start wanting to use this quirk, and he would want to become a hero with this quirk. Now, here's the thing. Deku's family life is this. His dad's all the way in America, of course. But I don't think that from my personal idea, I don't think he would be in America for an office job. I would say that Deku's dad is running an organization, a mafia, to be exact, like a mob or criminal organization of some kind. And I'm not going to go into details because it could be off one. I don't know. We're going with that kind of theory. It could be. I don't know. The anime doesn't give us details on who his dad is, so I'm just going to say it's some criminal organization. Just stay lower friendly, you know? So what ends up happening is this. Deku would then find out about his office and go into it and somehow unlock his computer. Don't know how, really. Haven't gotten that far with the idea of it, but yeah, he would unlock the computer, find out that his dad's a criminal businessman. And I think he would find out at 8, because I want to make this quick. Deku would quickly want to do some hero work, and he would kind of learn that the best way to do it is if he figures out how to... Because here's the thing, criminals are getting crafty now. They're setting up organizations, they're building things, And it's really, really obvious. I would say Deku's very smart as a kid because all he could really do is focus on books and learning. And he knows a lot about birds, and he knows a lot about all kinds of criminal stuff and all that. He's learning about becoming a hero, and he wants to be a just hero. He wants to be a hero that goes by the law. And he'd be studying a lot of criminal affairs, stuff like that, looking at court stuff. And I would say that Deku, people call him why don't you become a cop instead of a hero? Because that's how close he is. And Deku decides that he's going to infiltrate the criminal organizations by becoming an info broker, by using his quirk to spy and gain information of all over the criminal database. And he uses the dark web to transfer information. And he goes by the code name Odin. If you don't know about Odin, I suggest looking him up because he has two birds that basically relay information, and he's considered to be godly of the mystical arts and all that crap. God of knowledge. Oh boy. So, what would end up happening is this. Deku using birds and the dark web to basically traffic information and stuff like that. And honestly, he's very well known. His prices are very huge, and he's getting shitloads of money from criminals. But he's also building up information about them, where they live, where they are, who they are. And he is finding out who these people are and giving them detailed information. And if they ever require information, instead of transfers over to the dark web, he sends a courier pigeon that he would also raise a shitload of pigeons all over the place. If you've ever played Thief, you probably know about how the fact that there's pigeons that come through and they kind of deliver messages. Basically that. He has a coop, a pigeon coop. Now, let's get to the story of, why he's going to choose the name Penguin and all that fun stuff, and his childhood. So Deku would be bullied. I'm going to change how he looks when he's in elementary school. He'd be a very fat kid, and really, he would eat a lot. And he'd be called Penguin because he looks like a penguin, and he's really chubby. He waddles a bit because how chubby he is. And I would say people were making fun of him. Instead of calling him Deku, they would call him Penguin because he looks like a penguin. And Bakugo would call him a penguin. And I would say that right at the end of elementary, Deku moves out of that school and goes to a different school. And from there, he's building more of his criminal organization. That's where he kind of builds it up. And immediately, he goes under the codename Odin, and he does a lot of things. One of them is he starts working out. And by working out, I mean his cardio is literally parkour and just climbing all over the place and doing all kinds of things, getting information and more. And his actual workout routine would be bare knuckle boxing, because I'm not going to give him judo or ninjutsu yet. I'm going to give that to him way later on, if I ever give it to him. But yeah, I'm going to give him bare knuckle boxing. And if you ever seen bare knuckle boxing, Jesus Christ. Some of the pictures, those guys look jacked. So yeah, Deku is going to be learning bare knuckle boxing. I would say that he sometimes has to use it in cases where he is fighting against, I would say maybe he would use it one time when he's fighting against some muggers and he kicks their asses big time. Now, here's the thing. Odin is considered to be one of the Japan's insane intel brokers. Some of the heroes even use him. And they're just kind of amazed by how much information he has. In fact, some of the anonymous calls that are basically displayed all about where some villains are from Odin under an anonymous name. Another name. Anonymous phone numbers under VPNs that are just hidden. Oh, this is getting odd. Anyways, what would end up happening is this. Deku would get the attention of someone we all know, we all love, and hate that he died. And that is Night Eye. And Night Eye would be, wanting to take down criminal organizations and stuff like that. And he would find out about Deku when he's about 11. And Deku would gain the attention of Night Eye very quickly. Because I would say that Night Eye would even work his own case on Deku very secretly. Even Deku doesn't know he's being figured out. And I would say that Deku, when I think that Night Eye would figure out that Deku is using birds, because he would find out the clues that Odin is like, the nickname would probably resemble his quirk, what it can do. And Deku, like, he would be really jacked and pretty big for a kid his size. And be very skinny and very toned and just looking terrifying. Now, also, Deku's mom would also tell him to bring an umbrella everywhere he goes to school, and I would say that Deku kind of learns that having an umbrella as a weapon is very, very, very fun. I think it can be used for a lot of things, and yeah, he uses it as a weapon sometimes, and I think that he would implement it in his hero costume and what he would use as, for helping him get around. Ugh. Coffee burp. Oh god, that felt weird. Anyways, let's get to the fun part. So what would end up happening is this. Night Eye would figure him out, find out that Deku is, Odin, and, well, he would find out that this kid could be a suitable case for One For All. And he would want to recommend him to UA. Because I would say that he does research, and Deku definitely wants to become, a student in UA, but he doesn't know how he's going to do it. And I'm going to skip ahead to where he is 15, where he's kind of closing up his criminal organization, but, well, not his criminal organization, but like his intel broking thing or whatever, his intel broker whole setup. Well, he's not closing it down. It's more like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So much bigger that he knows about All For One and All Might being skinny All Might. And he also knows about most of the criminal organizations with Overhaul, some of what Overhaul is doing. League of Villains is considered to be, like, well known in the criminal organization as, like, a secret organization for villains. He knows about the big boogeyman who can steal quirks, and lots of heroes have mysteriously disappeared over the hundreds of years, and how this boogeyman is considered to be the biggest bad of the whole entire criminal organizations. Lots of people fear him, and it's been considered to be a myth of a person throughout the entire organizations of criminals. Like, oh, don't go too deep, or otherwise you're going to have your quirks stolen. And Deku would be kind of scared of this person. And I think that he would also get a job from Shigaraki to do some information work on UA and stuff like that. But Deku would give false information and all that to Shigaraki, because he would not want to give up information on heroes but other criminal organizations. That's how he works. And yeah, it's pretty big how much information Deku knows. And I'm going to say that what ends up happening is Odin's got the biggest trust. And when Deku is going to UA, when he's going there, he's pretty interesting. Like, he's known as like Todoroki in his school. And oh shit, did that close it? No, it did not. Thank God. I thought my battery saying it was at 10%, which is 20%. Never mind. That it was, they closed the recording thing, which would have sucked. Whew. So let's continue. Deku is going to UAs for an entrance exam, and he doesn't know he's got a recommendation already in, that even Nezu is going to be recommending him. And that Nezu's got a little test for him that's pretty interesting. Now, for the fun part. So Deku, where I was back to what I was saying, Deku, he's kind of like Todoroki when it comes down to it. Quiet, edgy, and creepy. But at the same time, when you get to know him, he's a really great guy. He's living a double life, basically. One where he's this info broker who's very, very secretive, and then another where he's very open, charismatic, and gets along with everybody, but at the same time, looks like he's kind of got his own little secrets, but no one pries because he's just a great guy to get to know. And that his quirk is very cool because he's able to talk to birds. And, well, a lot of birds try and talk to him. But yeah, Deku's able to read people very quickly And a lot of jocks are actually interested in how he's like able to train so well, and they kind of see him move around on buildings sometimes and see him just do parkour. And a lot of people are amazed by his studying skills because he's more on par with, he's actually more above Bakugo, and he never decides to skip a grade because he wants to work at his own pace and wants to, he wants to have grades be easy for him so that he can do other things a lot easier, like keep his intel broker stuff up. Doesn't want to go to like a higher level, you know what I mean? Wants to stay with the class, and also he helps people a lot in his class. Bullies are pretty much feared, or in fear, well, they're afraid of him, because he just kicks their asses. He learns about what their quirks are, he analyzes them, he does all this stuff about analyzing quirks still. Now, let's get to when he's in, entrance exam. So when he goes there, he would not trip because, well, obvious reasons. He would pretty much be well fit, and he would have more confidence in himself. So he would not have that engagement with Araka. And I'm going to say what ends up happening is this. When he goes to the front desk or to whoever, how he signs up, I would say the person there would stop him and say, wait, you're not taking the regular entrance exam, are you? Because you have a recommendation exam that you need to take. A special one that was requested by Principal Nezu. And Deku would be kind of caught off guard. And would then immediately want to go take this recommendation from Principal Nezu because it's Principal Nezu. A recommendation from him and wondering how he knows. Like probably wondering how, like what made him want to recommend him. Someone that he's never really got the interest of. Or at least he thinks he hasn't. Oh. All right. Yeah, my heart rate's going up. All right, let's continue this. So Deku then goes ahead and continues walking towards where Nezu's office is, and when he sits down, Nezu is greeting him and shakes his hand and is honored to meet him, and then tells him that he knows who he is, Mr. Odin. And Deku kind of goes pale because he's scared that he is going to be arrested, and also that his hero days are never going to come. And I would say that Nezu would offer him a place in the hero courses in Class 1A, as long as he gives up information. One set of information that he is curious about. Something that he wants to know for himself. And he wants to know is if a certain person who hurt All Might, I think Deku would immediately stop him there and say that he already knows that All Might has been hurt, and he's kind of got his eyes on him for a while. He found out when he was 11 that All Might was hurt, but he never gave up on hope that he was the greatest hero ever. Even through his days of struggling through pain and all this suffering. By the way, the Sledgehammer event never happened, so All Might did catch it sooner or later. And what ends up happening is this. When Nezu, hearing that Deku is saying that All Might, even though he was in pain, struggling with an injury that was crippling him, he was still strong enough to go ahead and fight crime and do things that were pretty much impossible. Things that are just insane. And he's thinking on how this kid could be probably one of the best heroes because he doesn't see a weakness, doesn't see this as this crippling thing as a weakness, more of as a strong point, because it's showing true strength on how to become a hero. And I think Nezu would be quite taken back because he wasn't expecting this. Now I'd say that what ends up happening is this. Deku gives up his knowledge of what he knows about All For One, and is kind of surprised that he's an actual real person. And oh boy. Gives up everything he knows, that he's considered to be the boogeyman of the criminal underworld, and that he just doesn't really know much about him because there's never been really that many jobs that talk about him, that just really want to know if he's real or not. And most evidence that he has points that he's still alive and just in hiding, meaning that Nezu would piece together immediately with the help of Deku that he is still alive, and very much so, well, hiding due to probably injuries that have related to him. And they would break down the fight that happened between All Might and All For One. And what would end up happening is, I think he would slip about one for all. And Deku wouldn't really mind, because here's the thing, he would probably hear about it like, oh, it can pass down to people. And he'd be finding that interesting, but at the same time, he wouldn't pry, because he would know that it's probably an invasion of privacy, and he wouldn't want to do that. And he respects All Might and Nezu very much. So Nezu, saying how this was a deal, says that you will be joining Class 1A under a very, very strict thing. They're going to protect Deku with the most they can, because he is Odin and one of the most powerful info brokers in all of the criminal organizations, as in they must protect him with their lives. And Deku, basically this is what happens. Deku is going to be put in the dorm system early. And Deku's mom is going to be very happy about this. Amazed that he's able to pass UA with exam with flying colors. The written exam he didn't need to take, because he would already have known what to do. He would have gotten probably a very high score, and as he would have thought, he would have aced it anyways. Why have him rot in the support class when he could become a hero and use his knowledge and experience and tools that he has already to take down villains without being, some kind of support hero? He wants him to become a hero that is taking down organizations like All for One, and he wants to see him grow. He wants to see Deku become the #1 hero, and also in some way maybe become the next One for All successor. He has high admirations for Deku. Now, for his hero suit, it's going to look like this. I don't own the art. I don't at all. Please do not sue me. Now, this is where the fun begins. So, Deku is going to do this. He is going to go ahead and enter Class 1A, and no one really saw him in the recommendations, so they would say that he is marked under special recommendations, where there were special requirements. And I would say that Nezu and Deku would talk about his quirk and how it works. And I think Nezu would be kind of surprised by how powerful the quirk is and how it works entirely. How it's actually, he has to raise them, and then that's how it all fits. And it kind of was it was very genius of him to choose the nickname Odin because of the birds. The two birds that he has, all that. Anyways. So, what ends up happening is this. Deku, I would say that Nezu is also recommending Deku for becoming the next successor for One for All to All Might as well, besides Night Eye. Mirio wouldn't be recommended because of the fact that Deku has way more strong points than Mirio, and I think that Night Eye would see that having Deku become, the next successor would be more beneficial and more useful, because his quirk could be so much powerful if upgraded, and they are just wondering what he could do with it. Could he somehow command birds? Could he do something else? And it's just interesting to figure out what he will do. Now, what is going to happen is this. Deku is going to... All Might would want to study Deku on the Heroes vs. Villain exam that is going to take place. Now, Bakugo would see Deku and be kind of surprised that he looks like this. He's so fit and, looks insane. He gives off this presence that it's just friendly and good-mannered, but at the same time has a mysterious side to him that you don't really want to ask questions about, because it just seems impolite. And I would say a lot of people give him stares, but people would go up to him and be kind of very friendly to him. Now, for the little, quirk assessment and, physical exam. Overall, Deku is going to be very good. He's going to be very fit. I would say in the race he gets 5th place or 4th place. Very average, but at the same time he's at peak level human strength, and he's done a lot of cardio. So I would say he lasts the longest out of everyone else. Now, strength, he comes in first because he's done so much, grip strength and also bare knuckles boxing, and also when he punches the punching machine, he gets a higher score than the other people who have Sugar Rush or anything like that. Because mainly it's because of technique and how he's learned how to punch. and how he's pretty much destroyed punching bags before. Now, let's get on to the ball throw. The ball throw would be pretty average because he's never really practiced with the ball throw, and I would say that he gets pretty average, and he gets a very good score for, having a quirk that relies on birds and all that. And I would say that he would ask the bird to take the ball and just carry it away. So he'd probably get really high, because I would say that Aizawa would ask, like, how far could the bird carry it? And he says, well, as far as he wants it to be. And I think he would get like infinity, because it can just keep going and going and going. And All Might would probably be watching from the sidelines, wondering how people are finding him useful, and wondering how his quirk works more. And even though he's got details and information, he wants to still learn on how he would be a good successor, because he doesn't really still see it, but he sees that he's already fit, so that's good. He's checking that off his list. And he's already heard the interview with, because I would say Nezu would record it so All Might could hear it. And he would already be like, all right, kid's got true heart of a hero. And he would also be always touched by what he said about All Might, that his scar was proof that he's such a strong hero and very, very well, just the perfect number one hero, which would make All Might want to continue on fighting and preserving peace. And it's just putting a lot of strength in All Might. Now, for the heroes versus villains, Deku is going to be paired up with Kendo, because Araka would not be in the hero course because, well, she didn't get enough points for saving and all that. Now, she would have been saved by a teacher, so she wasn't crushed. So Deku's going to be teamed up with Kendo. And I want to say Minya got booted out. No, I'm going to keep Minya in this time. Why not? And I'm going to say that what ends up happening here is this. What ends up happening is very simple. Deku, being the badass he is, would immediately, I would say that Deku, well, he would have an umbrella, and I would say the umbrella would have a little something special, because it's his own little umbrella that he came up with on his own. I'm going to say the umbrella is if you open it up, it can allow him to fly in the air, like a chopper. And it's got a rotor and all that, so he can fly. And it also has, if you aim it at someone, he can shoot tranquilizers at people. And it's kind of like a few shots only, because they can only fire so many. Now, what would Deku use in the Heroes vs. Villains? He would have a bunch of birds go out into the building to try and find the bomb and where everyone is. And he would actually then have them look at each of the birds and find out what the strategy is that they're implanting. And he would be teamed up with Kendo, and Bakugo and Ida would be on the other team. Simple as that. Now, what would end up happening is, I would say that immediately what would end up happening is Deku would, I would say that he would, everybody would be kind of like shocked that he would be moving around so carefully, and he would be sneaking in, really. And it wouldn't be that great because he wouldn't practice ninjutsu, but he would still be good at sneaking around. Because I would say that there would be times where he needs to take photography and all that stuff. So he would be kind of sneaky from being an intel broker. Okay, now, to the fun part. So Deku is going to be, sneaking past Bakugo and immediately punching him in the back of the head and just taking him out immediately, beating the shit out of him, and just completely nailing him down to the ground. But he wouldn't be able to use it. Bakugo wouldn't be able to use explosions because it would be such a sudden attack from behind, and it would catch him off guard. Now, for what happens to Ida, I would say that Deku would move in pretty simply. He would break one of the windows from outside that was underneath the floor and fly upward with Kendo in his arms. And immediately Kendo would hit the glass, breaking it. And then they would fly in immediately and then shoot a tranquilizer that would hit Ida in the armor but not penetrate. Immediately, Ida would try to kick Deku, but he would use his umbrella to hit him in the groin, causing him to grip his groin, and then he would get kicked in the face by Kendo, which was a great tag team effort. And the two would then touch the bomb, and they would win. And I would say that Deku just showed off his techniques and, well, how skilled he was. I would say that everyone's just watching them like, wow, that's such coordination. I'm amazed that they were able to do something like that just by first meeting each other. And it really shows Deku how he's able to, well, adapt. And I would say that All Might is now fulfilled on wanting to give him One For All, which is then when he gives One For All to Deku, but wants him to train a little bit more to use the quirk, get used to it. And when he eats his hair and all that, because I would say that Nezu would explain how the quirk works and help him understand it a little bit better, because All Might cannot teach. So I would say that Deku would quickly understand how One For All would work a little bit better by learning that you have to put it all throughout your body. And Deku would quickly learn how to do it, but here's the thing, it would upgrade his quirk quite a lot, where he is now able to command birds on the spot, sending it more of a telepathic link towards them and having a horde of birds just swarm his, whoever he's aiming at, and just pretty much it's a crowd control weapon now. He's able to have a swarm of birds protect him. And he goes, and well, he would be going by the name Penguin, because he was able to contact birds that he's kind of like able to communicate with them now. Like birds that he hasn't raised, who aren't under his influence, he's able to now communicate with birds that are like just regular birds he can find, and talk to them and make deals with them and all kinds of stuff like that. He's able to do a lot of things now that's kind of unique. And one of them is he's able to see through the eyes of a bird completely, and by the way, he's able to read lips from being an intel broker. Forgot to mention that. Now my throat's hurting because I'm dehydrated from talking so much. All right, let's get back to the what if. So what would end up happening is this. Deku is going to, he's going to be looking quite dapper. I'm going to say that, I'm going to say people are just asking him about what he's able to do and like how his quirk works. And he would explain that his quirk has somewhat has kind of gone beyond his limits. And he's kind of been holding back another quirk he has. He would explain it to the class that it's just a physical enhancement quirk that he picked up when he was learning how to fight, and he didn't really want to use it because he's still trying to get the hang of it, because it just kind of awakened. And I would say that this is a big surprise to everyone, because they're like, holy crap. So he's got two quirks, one's a physical enhancement, one's an intel. So it's kind of like, oh, crazy, this kid can move around and also, have range. He's got range and close range advantages, and yeah, it's just insane. And he explains how his quirk has kind of been buffed from this second quirk. And it's basically just, I don't know what he's going to call this other quirk, but yeah. Now, I don't know what his first quirk would be called, because, I don't know what he would call One For All, but I don't know what he would call, I guess.
Hey,
yeah.
KFC.
Okay. Anyways, let me get back to the wife. But yeah, I think you'd call the first quirk Odin or something. I don't know. But whatever. You guys tell me in the comments what you think the quirk should be named. But yeah, let's get to the fun part. So the USJ attack, that's where I'm going to end it for later. I'm going to go until the sports festival, because why not? Deku at the USJ event is going to be, when the villains attack, he's going to immediately use his umbrella when, he's taken to the yacht with Froppy and Minyetta. He then uses his umbrella carrying the two people, counting three, counting himself as well, away in his umbrella. And, I think the villains would find that like, that's cheating, come on. And I would say a few of them try and jump up and try and get to them. But Deku, I would say, would fly away and get to dry land, where they are then fighting them, and he's shooting tranquilizers at them, slowing them down and beating them down with his umbrella and completely just going at them. And then using One For All to kind of enhance his strength, to just kind of fight them off and just bare knuckle boxing them, just beating down on them. And I'm going to say that he's completely destroying them. And I would say that he's wearing a coat now because it's kind of chilly for him, and why not? And also the coat is providing more protection. And I would say that people are just kind of like wondering what is with this penguin-looking guy who's just beating down on them. And I'm going to say that the coat doesn't just provide protection, it's weighted. So when he hits people with his like elbow or anything, it hits harder because there's lead in it. There's parts of it that's padded up more than others, like his elbows, his forearms, pretty much that. No, I'd just say his forearms and his shoulders part, like where the shoulders are. I can't remember that part of it. It's just the arm, yeah. Everything but the elbow is padded. At least having him have mobility.
Joe, are you coming out?
No, I'm just going to be continuing this what if, if that's cool.
Okay, you're not going to come eat?
No, I'm not hungry.
Not right now?
Sorry. Anyways, let me get back to the what if. Sorry. Not even from the mood for KFC. I don't want to end the what if that quickly. Anyways, let's get to the fun parts. So yeah, he's taking down the villains, and I would say that he was calling the swarm of birds this entire time to have them come in, and they've been pecking at the glass for a while. And when they peck at the glass, they finally get in, and there's a huge swarm of birds just all over the place, watching everything. And he's actually looking through the birds' eyes to find out where everyone is. And then that is when all the villains are down where he is, and Aizawa is struggling with the Nomu and, well, pretty much all the other villains. He's kind of told, because, like, let's put it this way, Deku has a huge pigeon coop. And he basically tells all the pigeons to attack all the villains that Aizawa is surrounded by. And you just see a swarm of birds engulf all these villains, and even Shigaraki's having trouble trying to swat them away. Kirigiri is actually having trouble just trying to send them another direction, but they just keep flying back. And it is insane. The birds are just biting at people, pecking some of their eyes, and just really messing with these villains, allowing Aizawa to take them down and beat down on them. And Deku is just providing support by beating down on them. And I'd say that they go towards the Nomu, and I think Deku would have heard about this weapon being talked about. And I think that he would immediately bring up, he would actually have a lot of information on the Nomu. So he would probably straight up go ahead and have it attack all the birds to attack the Nomu, which would be trying to swat them away, but really fail. Now, here's the best part. The one bird, I would say, would get into the Nomu's brain, picking at it and ripping it apart because it's under the command order to kill it. And these birds are actually getting really vicious now, destroying the Nomu and pecking at it. Now, it does have shock resistance and regeneration, but what happens when the brain is cut off? What happens when the brain is gone? Not a lot of blood goes to the brain, so yeah, and it's pretty exposed, so yeah, it's going to be a problem. And immediately, Deku would, shoot some tranquilizers at the Nomu to try and have it, weaken up and slowly kind of like lean against it, but the healing factor would prevent it from getting too dizzy. Like these tranquilizers are like elephant tranquilizers. Will put an elephant down to sleep. Now what ends up happening next is this. Deku flies up to the scaffolding to kind of shoot at it more with tranquilizers and take down other villains from afar. Kirigiri would then have Shigaraki try and touch Deku, but he would drop down and having the horde of birds kind of carry him off to kind of shoot some more tranquilizers off, kind of just riding against birds, and it's just looking terrifying. Now, here's the best part that I'm going to find. I would say that one of the birds went to All Might with a note attached to it saying that, villains have invaded, or actually, maybe I would go to Nezu, who would then find out, oh yes, villains are attacking, send help immediately. And immediately, heroes would come way earlier with All Might in tail. And, well, villains would get taken down pretty quickly. And, yeah, so what would end up happening next is this. Deku, with the help of all the heroes, takes down all the villains, and they are, helped out a lot. And Deku is actually praised by being able to provide support and help to Aizawa and helping the other students with their problems. And they would say that he would become a very good hero, and how his quirk is very handy for crowd control and being able to control a big area. And I would say that Deku would then provide information to for All Might and Nezu about the Nomu and what it is, and how, what it really can be. And it's not even really human at this point. And what ends up happening is this. Nezu would have this thing studied deep down and taking all the information that Deku has on this thing, because it would be all over the place, as known as a All Might killing weapon. Something that the villains were going to use to kill All Might. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Now, for the rest of the whole thing, for the weeks that Deku has for training and all that, for the sports festival, Deku is going to be, he's going to be using his quirk a lot. He's going to be testing it out, seeing how many limits he has. And a lot of the birds would have died because the Nobu would swat at them really hard, and he'd be treating them and helping them. And I would say that Deku, he would be, the League of Villains would be looking at Deku becoming a villain. Little did they know that he infiltrated them. So he's already learning that, they're going to try and take him. Because I would say that one of the birds actually picked up on, what Shigaraki looks like, who Kirigiri is, and they're just kind of watching outside the bar. But he wants to gather more information. He doesn't want them to move or anything like that. He's keeping this information from Nezu and All Might, so he's just trying to watch them. Okay, now, for the sports festival. Now, for the race, it is very simple. Deku's going to ride the birds across everything. Actually, yeah, he would. Yeah. And people would be kind of amazed by how he's riding a bunch of birds. And they'd be looking at his quirk, and he has two quirks. One's a strength enhancing, and he's able to, control birds and share a telepathic link with these birds. And what ends up happening next is this. Deku, being the badass he is, goes across the minefield and revives first with all the birds in tail. Now, who would he be on Deku's team, and who would he know about everyone else? Well, he would know about Shinso immediately because the birds would be showing him how he's getting around and what he's doing. Now, as well as this, Deku would immediately have Tokiyami, Kendo, and I'm going to say because he's quite talkative and a lot of people are actually liking him, I would say that, let's see, who else? Tokiyami, let's see, maybe, Tokiyami would really like him because he'd be interested in how the bird thing would work and kind of find him very interesting. And let's see, I would say that Deku would also have, who should I have him have? Let's see. Maybe have, yes, Tokiyami. What else did I give him? Oh yeah, Kendo. So he only needs two more maybe, I think. And those two more could be, if it was, I can't remember if it was two more or not. I think it was three more. Maybe it was only three people. So Tokiyami, Kendo, and who would be in the front? Actually, I'm going to say Tokiyami would be in the front. I'm going to say that who's good at fighting? I'm going to say Ida, because I think he'd be interested in what he's going to come up with. And using the birds in the stadium, he's able to find out where people are coming from and, see where everyone is. And he's able to have them move around the whole entire area without even getting hit and all that. And people have gotten really far, like really far in the whole league. Now, I would say that's all they did. They just ran away and used the birds to completely screw over all the other teams and all that, and prevent them from taking their bans. And I think they would collect quite a few bans from other Cavaliers, even Mineta, who would lose the ban, and well, Floppy would also have to deal with that problem. Now, as for what's going to happen with with Shinso and Deku is this. Shinso would know that he's not going to be able to win in the close quarters of long-range combat, so he tries to brainwash him immediately, but Deku doesn't fall for it. And immediately would have a bird literally go have a bunch of birds surround him and immediately just block his view. And when he just runs towards him, he would immediately run towards him and just throw a punch, and it would go through the birds where they would move out of the way and then just let him punch him in the face, knocking him out. KO! Completely knocked the fuck out. Now, as for what's going to happen next is this, where it's Deku versus Todoroki. Now, I would say that Todoroki it's pretty much the same thing would happen, just he's moving around more with birds and not really using all of his strength to take out the ice. Yes, he's just really running away, that's about it. And knowing where the attacks are going to come from before they even happen. And I would say that Deku tells the same thing, where it's his quirk, it's not his father's. He got it from his own struggle, and it's his own. Make it his own. Yeah. Sounds about right. And yeah, what would end up happening is this. Todoroki would use his fire, but Deku would clearly get out of the way before anything could happen, and the birds would be safe, of course. And yeah, Deku would immediately use the fire and smoke that has been created to punch Todoroki in the face and completely punch him a few more times, and just completely just knock him out of the ring and have him gripping his stomach in a kind of like a fetal position, because he's just been beaten to death. Well, pretty much beaten to death at this point, like beaten to a bloody pulp. And I would say people are just surprised by his adaptability and being able to do so much damage, having long range visibility, and being able to do all kinds of things. And people are seeing him as like, oh, I would love to have this kid as an intern. I would love to see what he can do. And I would say that, well, you're seeing how Deku's already gotten full cowling very early on. It's really overpowered. But what ends up happening next is this. Deku versus Bakugo. Now, Bakugo would see, obviously, I'm not going to let you win again. Last time you snuck up behind me and beat me down. This time, Bakugo is going to be throwing explosions around himself to provide smoke to make sure that Deku can't see him. But all Deku would do is he would shoot birds towards him through the smoke, having him grip his arms. And immediately, Deku would know where he is, using his being able to see through the eyes of a bird. And he would figure out where he is, and then just slide up towards him, punching him in the balls, and then punching him in the face several times before basically throwing him over his shoulder and punching him in the face again, knocking him out. Now, everyone would say that is a nice strategy that on Deku's part, because he was able to use the his smoke screen against him, making it hard for him to see, but also using the birds to see where he is. And I would say a lot of heroes are finding it that his technique is very, very, very insane and just amazing in its own right. Now, who would he go to in his agency and all that? And also, is his hero name going to be? His hero name is going to be the Penguin, because that's what he was called and what he wants to use. He doesn't want to be called Odin because it would just be a dead giveaway. So he's choosing Penguin because it's something he was called and he wants to use it. Besides, his hero suit matches that of a penguin. Okay, alrighty. I went on a huge ass rant with this. Holy crap. Okay, now, yes, Deku wins, and All Might is very proud of him, and all the heroes are just amazed by it, waiting to just see if they can get him, and get him into the internships. And I would say that Deku's, his internships and sheets and all that, like who he can go for, Takes about 3 days to print because so many agencies want him. Now, as for who is going to be taking Deku, you will have to find out in the next part of What If Deku Was the Penguin. So, have a good day and a good night, and peace out.